Everybody here okay? Yep. I know you can hear me because I've got a microphone, but can you see me over this? Yeah, fine. Right. This morning is just to have just a little discussion, just to go through the changes for the IPV. Some of you will already be familiar with some of those through the training materials, but we need to look at what's going to happen from from April with regards to the change in the assessments. So Martin will follow this after with the foreman and the like, but starting off with why is the IPV change and why the need for change. Most of the changes within the sector scheme training materials come through from the industry and they're fed back through to the sector scheme committee. And so whilst you will see many changes that are required in many of the training materials, it's not something that happens overnight, unfortunately. And so there is a process that has to be undertaken. The training committee had already identified anyway the need for the change in the IPV materials. The original course materials that some of you may remember back as far as 2005 didn't even contain any assessment process. It was a training process only. As the award developed, we then included a training process, an assessment process, and now what has changed greatly in the industry, of course, is that there's no requirement to have no allowance for single vehicle works. In the main, we're looking at dual vehicle works. One of the things that the industry had identified was that they felt that it was the achieving of the actual qualification now, there was no demonstration that they were doing live lane work and taking that through the 12AB route. So it was obviously time for change, and that's where we've got to now. So what's actually changed? Now, the training course materials have already been issued, and the training course materials have already been used by a number of people, and hopefully what you'll see from that is that the course timings have changed. So there's additional materials that have been included, and the additional materials are including the mobile carriageway closure technique as a small overview, and use of the IPV as a convoy control vehicle. Now these are training content, and the additional training content over and above that, there is inclusion of single carriageway works as a small overview, and low-speed dual carriageway works. The training material time has changed to about 4.5 hours. So one of the things that you're going to have to be extremely conscious of when you're doing, your hard shoulder assessments will be the time, and because the timings have changed, it may limit how many assessments you're able to do if you're going out doing the hard shoulder assessments in the afternoon, particularly depending on your location. Now the course is obviously a training course and the assessment process is separate, so therefore there is no reason why hard shoulder assessments can't be done on a separate occasion. There's no prerequisite to do them both on the same day. But by the same token, there's nothing to stop people starting courses at an earlier time in the day, and obviously considering their road space. Okay, so that's going to be very much down to the actual centres themselves. When the changes come into effect will be the 1st of April. You've already, as I said, had the training materials issued. Everybody should be using those at this stage. We've had an amended test paper come out, which is version 7, and the remaining training materials are already as version 7, and they will hopefully be released by the start of March, ready for the use, certainly by the end of March, start of April. And the updates in version 7 of the training materials just contain some feedback that we've had from those that have used the version 6, where there's a couple of updates with, say, the health and safety slides, or there's been 1 or 2 amendments where maybe typo errors, something along those lines. There's also been a couple of centres that have had problems viewing some of the videos that were embedded for the impact vehicle strikes, and I think some of the lettering was being misread on some computer packages. So we've amended that, so version 7 will be able to be issued with the assessment materials as well. Okay. The next question that you're going to get asked is, how does it affect people if they already hold a card? One of the aims with the IPV was to try and prevent it being, it's definitely improving what we have, or hopefully improving what we have as an industry, but to not make too much of a radical change for those that already held cards. So the process going forward If somebody already holds an IPV hard shoulder only card, then in exactly the same way, they will come and do the training course as their refresher, providing their card's in date. Obviously, if their card has expired by more than 6 months, which are the normal requirements, then they would have to undertake their assessment process again too. If they hold a Live Lanes card, exactly the same process. The current training materials will give them the update required. The end of course test will give them the additional knowledge or the ability to demonstrate the additional knowledge. And providing their card is in date, again, they will end up being able to renew their card. If their card is exceeding a 6-month expiry date, once again, they will be asked to undertake an assessment again. Bearing in mind with the Live Lanes assessment, because the process is now going to change for the way that you actually undertake that, they may find that there's alternative or introductory training that they have to do. Okay, so it will be quite important to make sure that people are sort of reminded to try and renew their cards within the last 6 months of card life, rather than wait until they've expired and then trying to do it in the latter 6 months. As a slight overview, the IPV qualification is a 2-part process, which it has always been, but we are now going to be followed by practical assessments rather than a practical assessment. The current system is a hard shoulder assessment, and then the Live Lanes qualification is linked to having a 12AB operative driver qualification. And that's probably the major change. The training course is still the same for all the awards, and then it will be followed by one of the following number of the following assessment modules. Unit 1 will be the IPV on a hard shoulder. Unit 2 will be the IPV in a live lane on a high-speed dual carriageway or motorway. Unit 3 is titled as a single vehicle works escort vehicle. And the idea behind that was to give an introductory route for those going through 12D or coming from the 12D side. Unit 4 is for low-speed dual carriageways, and Unit 5 will be a common theme throughout, which will be the underpinning knowledge. Irrespective of which unit they're doing, the underpinning knowledge will be required, and once it's been successfully completed, that can obviously be used across if people are adding additional awards on at any time. The 12AB route has already been fully approved, and where the 12AB, or if somebody comes through from the 12AB side, then that will automatically include all of the other levels of qualification underneath for 12D, so they will not be expected to take separate assessments on different road types. If a learner undertakes single vehicle works escort vehicle only, which is the 12D entry route, then they will be limited to that criteria. Okay, so it has been seen by the committees, and this has been put across both 12AB and 12D committees. At the moment, the route that is described for 12AB is IPV and live lanes starts with the TTMBC course, which if we treat somebody coming through as a new entrance, they would then undertake the IPV course, and then they have got their hard shoulder assessment. So they would do the Unit 1, which is the hard shoulder assessment, and the underpinning knowledge that goes with it. And at that stage, they can stop at that point. If they wish to proceed to live lanes, then they will be expected to undertake the TTMBC, the IPV course, the hard shoulder assessment, so the route is still the same, and then once they've got that, at some point, undertake the 12AB operative course. And that's just the training course, the 1-day course, and then undertake their live lane assessment at a later stage. Okay, so the requirement to actually hold a 12AB operative card has now been removed. So it's almost like a standalone qualification. The 12D route has more or less been approved, but it just needs the committee. The committees are meeting at the end of the month, so there's some little finalisations at some point. So they are starting off with TTMBC and a 12DM1 qualification, and then they will undertake the IPV course and then be permitted to do their single vehicle works assessment. Difference with the single vehicle works assessment, when you look at the criteria, it will be based on something like sweeping or following a sweeper on a low-speed dual carriageway, and it's aimed at the local authority route. And one of the reasons for the development there is the local authorities would struggle normally to go through the existing route of having to get motorway hard shoulder and also hold the 12AB qualification to be able to use an IPV, or following through the route of the sort of sector scheme training modules. If they want to do the static TM for low-speed dual carriageways, then they're TTMVC, 12D M3 qualified, do the IPV course, and then they will do their live lane assessments and the underpinning knowledge. Now, we've also had one or two questions previously come in. So to start with, we've had, do I have to be an IPV instructor assessor to be able to conduct the live lanes assessment? And the current status is that IPV instructors are also the assessors. It's something that will be put to the committee. As I said, the committee are meeting at the end of the month, and my honest opinion is logically the assessor currently assesses a 12AB driver in the live lane situation or being protected by an IPV, etc. So if it goes to a sort of discussional point, then I would certainly be one that would sort of back the case that I don't see a problem with an assessor being able to do the IPV live lanes assessment. Okay? It doesn't mean that that's what the decision will be, but that's the side if I sat on the committee, would actually discuss and try and put a case forward for. Other questions are, where should I conduct the live lane assessment from? And this will be based on what we've done since 2000 for 12C, and we would expect generally the IPV assessor will be as a passenger in the IPV. Now, as I say, it's something that people have questioned, but it's been done since 2000 now for 12C supervisor training and assessments, and it's, you know, the assessor has been sat in that instance probably for the most of the shift during that process. Okay? And the final question that's been asked is, can I assess an IPV live lane driver at the same time as a 12AB operative? The current rules in the sector scheme tell us that we can have 2 people on site for 12AB assessments, although only one can be assessed at a time and the other has to be in a place of safety. At the moment, if you're sat next to an IPV driver undertaking an assessment, then the other person can't be in a place of safety. It's something that will be discussed at the committee, so you know, there's obviously no decision based on that at the moment, but again, difficult to know which way that one's going to go, to be perfectly honest, but we'll find out. Okay, and that's the IPV updates. Thank you.